Hello, beautiful people. Welcome back to our channel. Indeed, IPOB, that's Indigenous People of Biafra, have gotten the full attention, not just from the Igbo politicians or Igbo political leaders, but also every other leader, stakeholders in Southeast over their seat at home. And they have this to say, very strong words, I must say. Just some few hours ago, Alan, the CEO of Airpeace, had strong words to say concerning what is going on in Southeast. A lot of prophecies coming up here and there over it, but right now, the sociocultural groups and stakeholders are now ready for a lot of things. Before going to the news proper to find out all these juicy details, like it, subscribe to our channel by clicking on the red subscribe button beside it. You will see a bell notification icon. Please go ahead, click on it to get notified as soon as we update our channel on YouTube. Well, the Apex Igbo Sociocultural Organization Ohaneze Ndigbo worldwide has called on the indigenous people of Biafra, IPOB, and other secessionist agitators in the southeast region to stop all forms of anarchy in the land and explore dialogue. The President General of the group, Professor George Obiozo, made the call on Monday on the occasion of the annual celebration of Igbo Day. Prof. Obiozo, who appealed for a return to normalcy in Igbo land, said IPOB, that's Indigenous People of Biafran leaders, should take note of the danger violence has posed in Igbo land, adding that Southeast geopolitical zone must avoid being a race that has voluntarily chosen to perish in violence and in insecurity. Obiozo described current happenings in the southeast, which is Imo State, Anambra State, Enugu State, Abia State, and Ebonyi State, as destruction and devastation rather than liberation. The group, in a statement issued by its National Publicity Secretary, Chief Alex Obonaya, said Ohaneze Ndigbo worldwide traditional rulers and stakeholders call for an end towards anarchy in Igbo land. Our youth, particularly the leaders of IPOB, Indigenous People of Biafra, should take notice of the danger violence has posed in Igbo land. Ndigbo must avoid being a race that has voluntarily chosen to perish in violence and insecurity, and we must stop threatening ourselves. And there must be a stop to violence and every violent talks. Something other than the initial objective of IPOB is taking place, and it is actually dangerous. Today, what we are seeing in Igbo land is not liberation, but Igbo destruction and devastation. It is a national tragedy for Igbos. The liberty and freedom of Ndigbo are threatened internally and externally. I call on IPOB, that's Indigenous People of Biafra, Indigenous People of Biafra leaders, to reassert the authority and control of the organization. The statement urged all secessionist agitators to embrace dialogue and eschew violence. We repeat, our preference for dialogue instead of violence or military situations or solutions to national problems. The dialogue should not be delayed any further. For Ndigbo, the demand is simple, that the Nigerian Federation should be sustained and have a sense of stability. It must be a union of equals, and the composite unit must have the ability to survive without begging the center. We must tell ourselves the truth or keep deceiving ourselves by ignoring the calls for decentralization and devolution of power in Nigeria. Ironically, in history, societies where truth comes last, tragedy comes first. We must learn the lessons of history, particularly our own Nigerian history, on how the story began. Nigeria must avoid being a failed state, it said. But some persons will say Nigeria is already a failed state. They will now begin to tell you what are the characteristics of a failed state: insecurity, poverty, lack, inflation, social vices like lack of employment, and low standard of living, poor living standards, terrible social amenities, in fact, low social amenities. We can mention it on and on. And but the most important one they will tell you is when if a state is failed when it lacks insecurity, when it lacks security and has failed to protect both lives and property, then it has generally failed. But in all, let's look at what Prof. Obioza has to say. For the records, Ohaneze Ndigbo has two groups. One that is speaking for or kind of align with what IPOB is saying from time to time, and the other one, which is to Professor Obioza, who doesn't align with what the IPOB is saying, but usually would say that Ndigbos prefer one Nigeria. Ndigbos are loving people, hardworking people, and they are not interested in seceding. But that's the two fractions generally. But both of them somehow came out of the same Ohaneze Ndigbo. But the governors respect this Obioza group, that's the Professor Obioza group, and while the people seem to respect the other group. But looking at what Obioza said, Professor Obioza, he's saying, look, the way this thing is moving is entering anarchy. And I must say this. In a situation where the government or the governors will give an order and it doesn't hold water, there's a parallel government too. And if there's a parallel government, anybody can use any name. Like some days back, yeah, think about 24 hours or 48 hours ago, 24 hours actually. IPB had to come out and issue a statement warning over those using their name. They say we are representative of IPOB or we are persons agents of IPOB. So they had to come up via the media and publicity secretary, more powerful, saying anybody, any agent, a member, legally or illegally or whatever, that comes in the name of IPOB saying they want to collect funds to mobilize or to dialogue IPOB, that it is false, that such person is a scammer and the person will be dealt with. That's to tell you how people are now, every little thing that happens, even foreigners can actually come in, do something, they'll say they're UGM and they will just blame it all on IPOB or blame it all on ESS. So you now see that it's actually a very dicey situation. There's this general saying that it's only a house rat that will tell the public rat or the public rat, yeah, the outside rat, that this is where the crayfish in the kitchen is kept. Which means an outside rat cannot just walk into the kitchen and begin to know where the crayfish is. It has to take an insider to be able to point out, which means right now Ndigbos need to begin to shine their eyes and begin to look inward and begin to flush out and make up their mind to say no more, like some languages, some Igbo dialects will say ozemena, which means you gotta look into it and make sure that what happened in 1967 to 1960 does not repeat itself. And some persons will say they are ready. Honestly, nobody prays for any chaotic situations. We sue for peace, we pray for peace. Dialogue should be the way, and I think all stakeholders, all hands should be on deck to see how we can take away the restiveness out of the southeastern zone and make it once more a peace and loving region for all and sundry. Let's meet in that conversation. What's your take on what Professor Obioza is saying concerning the peace that ought to return?